We're doing Living Healthy After Surgeries class. I got this as a special request. And so after I posted this, then I had people actually coming in and asking me to touch on specific things. But before I go into specific surgeries, I do want to talk to you about the protocols that we use for any surgery, okay? So when we have somebody who's had an organ transplant, they are not going to go this route. And I just want to make that clear because I did have somebody reach out to me and ask what they can do after they've had an organ transplant. What we do is we boost the immune system, and when you've had an organ transplant, that can actually be deadly to you. So you need to speak with your licensed physician about the steps that you need to take. There are some things that we could do, but I'm not even going to go into that. So if you've had an organ transplant, none of this class is going to pertain to you. Next, we need to see if you had any medical surgery, okay? So any surgery that was an elective, like breast implants, things like that, those are elective surgeries. So if you've had a medical surgery, the number one thing you need to do when you're done is get rid of what caused you to have that medical surgery. So what I recommend is you do an entire body detox, and we are going to be having a class next week going over the Cleanse and Nourish protocol specifically for that, because you don't know what caused the need for the surgery. So you want to detox the body out, start from scratch. You want to get it nice and clean so that way it doesn't start affecting other organs. Another thing, and this is everybody, not even just those that are having surgery, making sure that we're having 2 to 3 bowel movements a day. Yes, I said that, not once a week. If it's once a week, you have a problem and you should probably be resolving that problem. So 2 to 3 bowel movements a day. I know this, you don't realize this, but especially after surgery, when you've been on medications, things like that, it can actually cause constipation. We need to make sure that we're still eliminating, right? Of course, and you hear this from me all the time, and yes, I know how hard it is, but you need to do a whole food diet. If you're doing damage to your body, you're only allowed so much cheat in your life, right? So we need to start eliminating that, start eating whole foods, okay? And there are some surgeries that require us to do whole foods, period, okay? Okay, this is one of the huge ones. Anytime you've had an incision, what always is left behind? It's always scar tissue. So what we recommend that you do is after it's healed, it's no longer like an open wound, right? After the outside layer of skin is healed, the underlying tissue is more than likely not healed. So we need to address that aspect. With that, we do scar therapy. And we use wheat germ oil or sesame seed oil. If you're going and buying it somewhere, make sure it's organic, non-GMO, high quality, right? But we're going to take it and we're going to massage it into the scar tissue. This will kind of loosen up the scar tissue, allowing that bottom part, the underlying tissue, to heal. We also recommend using some type of light therapy. In our office, we use red light therapy and cold laser therapy. Cold lasers tend to be pretty pricey, but you can get a red light therapy device for pretty cheap. So if you need suggestions, we do offer some here, and we can get you a red light therapy device. It's also good for things like inflammation, pain, improving your range of motion, things like that. But we want to address the scar tissue. That's number one, because as the energy is flowing through your body, if it's hitting that scar tissue, let's say I have a scar right here, and there's energy flowing with signals, and it's going up, and it's trying to communicate with my brain, and it hits that, and it sends it to my hand. That's not helping my body, right? We don't want the energy signals to fritz out because it's hitting this active scar tissue. So if we need to address that, especially when it's something that we've done surgically, because scar tissue, when you fall, our body knows how to heal that. It breaks the skin in a way that our body has an easier time healing that. But when you take a knife and you actually create an incision, then our body doesn't know how to handle that. So we want to be doing that. That is a necessity. I don't care if the incision is this big. We need to be doing the scar therapy. Another thing you can do if you have a lot of scar tissue from the surgery is taking enzymes on an empty stomach. And not just like a few here and there. I mean, like actually doing an enzyme program, okay? And that way it'll help kind of dissolve up some of that excess scar tissue. Next, massage is a great thing too. I know that there's a lot of massage therapists that do scar therapy and they can break it up through massage. So that's a really good thing. Plus, when we have surgery, the muscles are impacted. So getting some massage done after you've had surgery. This is the huge one. This is huge. We need to address the mental health issues for that, especially if you've had something removed or if you've had some type of cosmetic surgery or something. There are some emotional things happening there. You've lost a piece of your body. Do you think that won't affect your emotions? So you need to do some emotional healing from that also. You know, it's kind of like the ghost sensations, right? For somebody who's had like a leg amputated or something, they can still feel their toes wiggling and things because there's still energy there. And so we, of course, wherever we have energy, we can have emotional energy too. So doing what you can to help yourself emotionally to heal from this. Okay, so here's the big one. And this is the one that most people, I had the most people come out and ask me about because it's becoming more and more common, is the gallbladder. How many of you are missing a gallbladder? Well, guess what? We need to do a lot of things when we lose that gallbladder. So when we lose that gallbladder, the most common symptoms are things like digestive issues, dry skin, irritability, sinus issues. So if we can replace the gallbladder, because that's all we can do once you cut it out, right? Once it's permanently removed, you have to replace it somehow because our bodies are connected. All of our organs are connected. They all play their parts. Nothing is a spare part on your body. So if you're missing that gallbladder, guess who takes up the slack? The rest of your digestive system, right? Especially the liver. So we need to support that so we don't put the liver under too much stress. So one of the things we can do is help with our digestion, and that is taking enzymes or bile salts, and I actually prefer a combination of both for when we're to replace that, help break it down, right? Because we don't have that bile storage anymore, so our liver's working really hard. So the more that we can do in the stomach, the better. Then we want to do liver and intestinal cleanses regularly, because we want to keep that liver in tip-top shape. And the reason why the intestine's coming out is because you need to have a clean intestine in order to take care of the liver, because everything is connected, right? Oh, and then here's a big one, because keto is a huge buzzword right now. And so I get questions, well, can I do keto if I'm missing a gallbladder? Well, here's the thing. You can if you're doing enzymes and bile salts, and if you're doing true keto, which is eating only healthy fats. If you're eating garbage, no, that's going to put more stress on the body, okay? So when you don't have a gallbladder, you want to make sure you're eating healthy fats that our body has an easier time breaking down rather than garbage fats. Okay, next, number 2 on my list, hysterectomy. How many of us women have cut out our uterus and or our ovaries? Okay, that's huge. If you get a hysterectomy, do you know what the number one, I was looking this up today, the number one symptom or side effect of that is, I mean, it was like 30 things all tied to the sexual being, right? So loss of libido, loss of sensuality, loss of, some people it's identity because they've lost their sexuality, right? They've lost a part of their femaleness, right? So we need to be looking at like the emotional aspects of this, and the fact that we can't sometimes connect to our partner because we don't have those desires anymore. So that's a huge one. So we've got the emotional stress, we've got the loss of our libido, the loss of our sexuality. Another huge one was weight gain. I don't like to gain weight. No, none of you do either. Skin and hair issues. I mean, bowel issues. I could not believe the list of symptoms that were huge. I mean, it was like 70% of women who've lost their uterus are experiencing this, and 60% are, I mean, it was just crazy, the list of symptoms. My heart goes out to all of you that are missing your uterus. I couldn't imagine. So what do we do, right? Especially if we lose the ovaries. I mean, because the ovaries are huge in producing progesterone and estrogen. And so if we lose those, I mean, that's huge. It sends you into early menopause. You're just miserable, at least to all the women I know who've lost their ovaries. I don't know any of them that are happy and just excited about their hormone imbalance, right? Because those are two huge pieces. The ovaries and the uterus are a huge piece in your entire endocrine system, in your hormonal system. So when you take one of those pieces out, it just wreaks havoc. And I don't know about you, but when when my hormones are out of balance, oh, I'm just a hot mess. I'm a wreck. So what can we do, right? Because it's already done. We need to support the body. We need to bring it back to health. Doing a whole body detox, because something happened to cause this, to have the necessary or the need to remove the uterus, right? So something's going on. We need to clean out the body. We need to cleanse it out, nourish it, give it some love, let it heal from whatever it is that caused it. We need some sort of endocrine support. So we use a few products here. We use one that works on the overall endocrine system, and every woman that I see that does not have a uterus is usually on this. But then we also need to do some extra hormonal support. So we might need to throw in like some some wild yam. If you're having hot flashes, I would highly recommend doing like some type of a wild yam blend. Now, I prefer when we're doing endocrine support like this, especially when we're dealing with something like this, I prefer synergistic blends of different herbs that come together so you can have a lot more impact on the endocrine system instead of just focusing on like one single herb that'll only complete XYZ, right? We want to get everything. So I like really good blends, high quality blends of herbs that have synergistic herbs with it. Okay. Another huge one is some vitamin B. And I'm not telling you to run down to the grocery store and get you some vitamin B. Most of the time, that's just garbage. Our body doesn't know what to do with it. It doesn't know how to break it down. It doesn't know how to use it. So if you want to do it through foods, I would do more meats. I would do eggs. I would do leafy greens. Those tend to be really high in vitamin B, right? And it helps support the endocrine system. It also helps with detoxification. Vitamin B is huge. Just like any of the vitamins, you need it. But if we can increase that, and another huge one that we're seeing more and more of is women with endometriosis, sorry, big word. And so if that was your cause for having to have your hysterectomy, then you definitely want to be doing something to help your body with some sugar handling, maybe some pancreatic support. I would definitely do enzymes. I would look at the types of sugars you're eating, things like that. All right. What was the other one that we had on? Oh, gastric sleeve or a gastric bypass, where they actually make the stomach smaller, and they do that for weight loss. So I had been asked by a couple ladies to talk about what they can do. This is a very hard one because you're actually affecting the digestive system, which is probably one of the biggest pieces of your health. So I was trying to think, like, what would I recommend to a client for this? Well, number one, I would do whole foods only. I would not do any processed junk food ever, because you only have a stomach, that's this big, and you need to get the biggest bang for your buck, right? For when you're eating. So I would do whole foods only. And Now, none of the Wyoming girls, don't scream at me for saying this, but I really believe you should reduce your meat intake because it takes so much longer to digest. You're putting so much more stress on that stomach to try to break down those meats. So I would really look at reducing your meat consumption. Definitely, you're going to take enzymes. Definitely. And when you're working on yourself and taking your supplements, things like that, I would really look at doing anything that's liquid so it's easier for the body to absorb. So doing more herbal tinctures, teas. If you're doing like vitamins and minerals, I would definitely look at something more liquid. And if you're wanting some suggestions, I have some really good suggestions for you. Just let me know. But there's not a whole lot we can do with that. Except for we need to help your body to be able to digest better so we can still get those vitamins and nutrients into the system and not put a lot of stress on your stomach while we're at it. Okay, next surgery that came up was colon removal. And I guess this is becoming more and more common where they're going in and removing the colon. You definitely know if that's the case that you've got some major stress, probably an immune challenge happening in the intestines. And so doing some more detoxification, I would look at, doing like a yeast and parasite cleanse to clean out the rest of the intestines. Now, it's not always that, but it wouldn't hurt to do anyway, because those are things you should be doing regularly. I would do, again, whole foods only, because you're taking out part of the digestive process. So the easier that you can make it, the better. Enzymes, same thing as we did with the gastric bypass. So we need to be doing enzymes, tinctures, teas, liquid vitamins, things like that. Whatever you can do to make it easier on your stomach. Making sure you're having good bowel movements with that though too, because you do need to be detoxifying if that's removed. So you need to be having really good bowel movements. If you're not, then we should probably be talking. Okay, so my next surgery was implants. So we have a lot of different implants now. My thing is if you've had something put into your body that is not necessary and not part of what your body needs to survive, you should probably remove that. But that's just my personal view. There's not a whole lot I can do if you're choosing to put something into your body. There's a lot of poisoning, especially like with breast augmentation. I was looking that up today too. I was hoping to pull some statistics for you. The statistics were just horrifying for breast augmentation. I do know a few people in my life who have elected to have their breast augmentation removed or their implants removed because of how sick they were getting. I guess it's very, very common. So I would remove them and then I would do a whole body detox. That's what I would do after that surgery. Here's one that I actually experienced some very bad side effects from. So I wanted to throw this one in there. And it's one that we think is generally safe. And that's LASIK surgery. So I elected to have LASIK surgery done for work. And mine went bad, right? Because with any surgery, you can always have possible consequences, right? And there are actually a lot more than we think. And I actually was, I thought I was going to be blind for the rest of my life after this. It took me about 2 weeks to get my vision. It was like looking through dark, murky water for 2 weeks. And so then I was like, that's when I started looking up, what can I do after the surgery? Because I got diagnosed with a couple different things afterwards. And, here's your medication you need to take for the rest of your life. And one of the biggest things I had to do was I had to reduce the strain on my eyes and I had to work on the inflammation. So I did a lot of like omegas. I did a lot of things like turmeric afterwards. I don't take it anymore because I've dealt with it, making sure my hydration was up because I guess a lot of people after this get dry eye. So making sure my hydration was good. But then I also check myself to see if I need vitamin A regularly. And like I said, I use whole food vitamin A. So my body knows what to do with that. So that's another one for LASIK. So that was my list of surgeries. If you have any other questions, feel free to let me know. I'd love to answer them for you. And if you ever have any ideas or suggestions for things that you'd like to see a class on, please share that with me. I'm not the most creative person in the world, so sometimes I need some feedback. But I would love to help you on your health journey, things that you are really concerned about, and giving you that information. If not, I hope you'll have a wonderful day, and we will see you next week for our Cleanse and Nourish Protocol class. Good night.